do a modified version of that. It's not that
so embarrassed.
a lot of time.
I sit on the ground. I did a small with kids. I had that.
Yeah. We're going there. Stay there, go out. She keeps in the city, and her kids go to school on.
And they let them on
Both our names are on, but listed on there anyway. I don't see why we don't see each other anymore.
You got the long holidays.
Thank you again.
My pleasure.
Well, great.
As long as I'm alive.
I don't know why they don't show us.
You have no idea what it felt.
I know, for him, it's like, teaching me all this stuff. Yeah.
Is there anyone here with a phone and an email in it that I can ask so you can connect to Zoom and send a document because there's restriction on anyone here who knows how to send, if I send anyone here an email to your phone, would you be able to like put it, go into the Zoom? Hi. Is there anyone here with a phone that has an email and can connect to the Zoom of this class? And then if I send you an email with a file, you'll be able to share it as a file in the chat of the Zoom? Anyone knows how to do that? Yes. Because there's restrictions of the system here and I can't do what they told me to do. So I'm just afraid that people in the
And then the chemical
No, I don't want to.
I know, I need to send you an email with the documents, and then you can connect to this, to all of the Bagel Zoom.
You can do what you need to do.
Do you have Gmail? You have Gmail?
Yeah.
Can you go into the website of Temple Sinai?
So that,
And then connect, try to, as if you're home and you're connecting to this,
okay, so that is,
tsinai.org.
I'm on
So you're
Zoom.
in Zoom. Okay, just mute it. Okay, now can I send you an email? I want to send you now.
Sure.
You should mute yourself. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna.
That's weird. But of course,
Okay, it's just not. We can't send an email from this.
Yeah.
I can't send an email.
I'm beat all at 53.
Yeah, but the problem is I can't hook up to an email on this computer. Continue a second. Okay. Sharing that I'm having some technical difficulty. Oh, wait. Wow, maybe, oop. What happened? I'm trying to.
Make it up.
Wow.
Okay, okay.
You don't remember. Oh, yeah. Second breakfast. Oh. Yeah.
What's your email?
Which are all gone. Right.
When you get that. Then just put it in the chat. Once you got the file, put it in the chat.
I gotta figure out how to attach a file to the chat from my phone.
Yeah, I know. So
Okay, that's what I'm trying.
maybe someone here knows. Do you get it though? You will.
Not yet.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten it yet.
you will. Okay, now you can try.
Have the file, save it.
Like go to the Zoom, or even just copy it,
Copy it.
and then go to messages and go to the backside the chat.
See if I can do
Okay, so while Bruce is trying to help, and maybe someone who has experience with Zoom on, like with a chat of Zoom on the phone can help Bruce figure this out while we start. I apologize for this, it was something in the configuration of this computer that doesn't allow to attach files. And my concern is I just want the people who are online to be able to do the exercise that I want to do with these texts. That's the reason for a little delay here. So I apologize, but most of the people are here, so I'll start. So, good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see so many people come here for the Grande Finale of All the Bagel. I appreciate greatly that you're here. I will try to also do this so you can see. Oh.
We're not gonna play a video game?
It might be fun for us, all right? Who needs hold of the bagel? We can play around. So I did want to do a little bit of a kind of like a summary and to talk about next year, adult education in Temple Sinai, and to hear your thoughts about that. But I also wanted us to study some Torah today, because I don't want to just talk about Torah. I want to be able to study Torah together. And what I thought that we would do, so maybe as Bruce tries to figure it out, and again, if anybody here is a little bit savvy in Zoom and knows how to help Bruce, what Bruce needs to do is he has a Word document that was sent to his phone, and he's trying to send it as an attachment in the chat box of the Zoom in favor of the 5 people who are online and want to also. So maybe as Bruce figures it out, I will start at the end. I will tell you about what happened and what we're hoping to have next year, and then we'll go through the study. Okay? So we started Hall of the Bagel, an intellectual and cultural salon. The thought came last summer when I realized that something about adult education in Temple Sinai needs to be boosted a little bit. I thought, so what's not too difficult to produce? Oh, let's get a series of guest speakers and enrich ourselves. What's that?
Not so difficult.
Well, there are more difficult things in the world, right? Like achieving world peace or ending all, disease or something like that. But getting that seems like we could handle. And luckily for us, we really found a lot of clever people, both in our community. We had quite a number of speakers from our own who enriched us greatly. Just last week, we had Jeremy, who I thought it was an excellent lecture, and I could think of a few more. I think he has some experience teaching. Again, right? And then we also realized that in our greater Rochester community, there are amazing people who just asked us to come and speak and say, okay, I'll do it. And the congregation even gave me a budget to pay people, but I didn't have to use it because people just volunteered to come and teach, almost, like maybe 1 or 2 cases, but in most cases, people are actually happy to share their knowledge. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I personally thought that it was a wonderful journey, intellectual, cultural, spiritual, very, very broad and deep. And the thought is to continue.
So as we speak, our team has been working very hard and preparing next year's Hall of the Bagel. And I can tell you that semester one is almost set. And that we're working on semester two and the last batches of semester one. The first, we're going to be starting in September. It's going to be the high holidays, towards the high holidays. The first thing that's going to happen is a few different perspectives on sin and forgiveness. We're even getting a Mormon perspective. I have a new Mormon friend who's going to come and explain to us. He's like Mormon reform, but still very Mormon. Yeah, there was a bishop in the Mormon church. He was sent to Mexico to run like the Mormonism in Mexico, and then he's back in town. So it's great. And then we're gonna have a lot of different perspectives, and maybe another thing to know is that Hall of the Bagel is just one piece in our entire adult education program that is also developing and evolving and expanding. Did I share with you last week the thoughts of how to do it? What we're gonna do next year? No, I did not, because Jeremy spoke, correct. I think I shared it in Rochester, which is why I have a memory of myself sitting in this room and explaining it, but it actually wasn't in here. So the thought is that adult education, learning Torah is a very pivotal and central, is there another synonym for that? For any community, any religious community, not even Jewish, but we first and foremost, we're here to worship and study Torah, and a lot of other things as well that are happening, which is great. So we kind of want to have a full program here for adult ed. And here are the thoughts. The thought is as follows. First of all, we want the basic first floor. All right, Hall of the Bagel and Rochester, we're both, it's kind of advanced, right? And we say, what about people who don't know much about Judaism and want to have the basic? So we'll be offering on Monday evenings something called Judaism 101 or Jewish Essentials. That's going to be 7 p.m. and that's going to be aimed at people who either, are considering conversion or are in conversion, but not only, also people who just never got a chance to learn the basics. Maybe they married into the faith, maybe you were a Jew but never educated in a Hebrew school, maybe you forgot, maybe you know a lot, but you want to brush up in it. Whatever, maybe you're not even Jewish at all, you're a Hindu, but you're in town and want to know something about Judaism, seriously, or Christian. A lot of Christian people are very curious. You hear Jews. What is it all? What is it really? So we're thinking to offer that on Monday at 7. For the first semester, it'll be 15 sessions starting September. And if we're able to find a teacher, we're gonna also try to do a 6 p.m. prior to that, Hebrew for beginners. So if you really want to have, so there's like a whole section for beginners. And then the second semester on Monday, there'll be adult day mitzvah, people who never got to do a bar mitzvah. Or maybe they did, but they want another one because they want another gift from the temple or church, or something like that. So we're gonna offer that in the second semester. So theoretically, you can do Hebrew for beginners throughout the year at 6 p.m. and then 7 p.m. First semester Hebrew 101, and then adult day mitzvah, or any of the three if you just want one of those components. Right? So that's kind of like a Monday evening. All right. So some of you might be interested, but maybe you know people who might be interested. You can tell your Episcopalian friend, guess what? You want to know about Judaism? Come on Monday, right? So there you go. All right, so that's going to be Mondays. Yes, Bruce?
So I got your file.
Yeah.
And I took your note and I just forwarded it with the file to Joyce.
Okay.
So she has the file now.
Okay.
In an email.
What about the rest of them?
Well,
Miriam?
I don't know the rest of them.
Marsha, is you?
Can she
If she could
screen share?
forward to the rest of them that are online, then they would have
She
it.
should be able to put it in the chat.
All right, so Marsha, can you hear us? No, Marsha, Joyce, can you hear us? This is like more exciting than the lecture itself.
She's on mute.
Yeah, Joyce, if you can hear us, yeah, to Esther. I know that the group can come up with a solution, and I'll just teach you so it's all that. So, yeah, if you maybe if you send it to Esther, she'll be able to put it on the chat. Okay, so that's Mondays. Wednesdays, we're gonna have Rosh Hashanah, which is a path to Jewish spirituality, but unlike this year that I just taught throughout the year, Rosh Hashanah is going to be divided into 4 mini semesters of 5 or 6, let's say 6 sessions each. I'll be teaching 2 of those, and 2 other teachers will be teaching other courses. So then we're trying to like even broaden that. So I'll be teaching Kabbalah and Jewish meditation, and the thing that I like to teach. And then there'll be a class on the secrets of the Song of Songs. And probably we're going to be finalized next week, a mini semester about Sufi mysticism, which is Muslim mysticism, taught by a U of R professor who teaches that. So it's going to be a very interesting semester of Jewish spirituality. So if you're into that, that's going to be Wednesday evenings. What's going to happen on Thursday? Thursday, we're trying something new. We're going to try to start a morning track, a morning activity. So we're hoping to do basically 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can come here to Temple. You don't have to loiter anywhere else. If you're working, quit your job. If you're not, if you're retired, that's the place for you. Okay, because we think so. That's going to be. It's going to be. Well, the core of it is going to be a Beit Midrash, which means that we're studying some interesting Jewish texts in an interactive way. So that it'll be an hour and a half, starting probably 10:30 all the way to noon, where there's a teacher. And again, 4 mini semesters, 6 weeks each. I'll be teaching probably half of that, let's say 1 and 3, all right? And then 2 other rabbis in town are going to be teaching 2 and 4. Each one of us choosing a different text, like Talmud, Musar, something modern. And the way that we're going to be doing it is that, it's the classical Beit Midrash Chavuta model, which is interactive. So everybody gathers, you get the text that the teacher presents. Maybe you've read it at home before because you know what the text is. The teacher talks a little bit about it. Then everybody splits up into pairs, which is called Chavruta, just like in the classical yeshiva. And you get some guiding questions, and you figure out, you talk about the text yourself, and then you gather at the end, and everybody shares what they've learned, and it's not just frontal lectures. Before that, at 9 or 9:30, we're figuring out the hours. We're going to have an hour of something which is mind-body, such as yoga, tai chi, walking in the woods when weather around in a mindful way. So Jewish mindfulness, so that you can start your day with something which is kind of like body, mind, soul alignment, leading into the Beit Midrash. And then at noon, it's going to come to the most important part of the day, which will be bring your own lunch and eat with friends. Right, so we basically want people to socialize. So that's going to be a Thursday morning program. Those of you who have time and the need bandwidth to do it, you enroll. Why we're doing it in 4 mini semesters of 6 weeks each, because we kind of been learning that for people to commit for a whole semester, let's say 12 or 15 sessions, is difficult because people go to Florida, because people have a life, but and just coming sporadically does not allow for the, just come from one lecture, you're not in the, so the 6 weeks is kind of like a compromise, like people can commit for 6 weeks, right, and then almost make all of them. So you still have the feeling that I'm studying something which is consistent, but I don't have to commit for a whole semester. So that's for Thursday, and this is great that we're trying to do that. All we need to, our team is working very hard to find all the teachers, and given the budget to pay some of the other teachers and the curriculums and how to do it. All you have to do is sign up and show up and bring a friend, right? Because we want Thursday here to be buzzing with people and happiness and learning, and yes.
Is that going to be open to the whole Rochester community or just sign-in members or?
Well, it's a tricky question because in the end, basically the answer is yes and yes and yes, because as you know, we don't really have anyone at the door here. So we're not, I think that we're going to open it for everyone. And the question was, should we charge somebody who's not a member, blah, blah, blah. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there'll be like a symbolic fee, but basically I think if they come a couple of times and they're going to like it, they're going to become members. Right, which is what I think that's kind of the philosophy behind it. If the more things we do that are meaningful for people, the more people will appreciate this distinguished establishment and want to support it, right? So precisely how we're going to charge or not, but yeah, Torah is open for all. There's a famous, I mean, at least in laughing, because I'm like, I'm the rabbi, I don't have to care about the money, right? Let's just do it. And he's like, no, but we have a budget, we have to,
No,
you know.
Joe's looking at me, he says, he's looking straight at you when he talks about that.
Yeah. Yes, and who cares if we charge them and how, you know, this is spiritual stuff. We're just gonna feed from sunrise, oh, but it's cloudy. Okay, so, yes, it's open, I think, and it's an important, thank you for mentioning it, because it's really like we should be marketing it, not just, and when I say we should be, everybody here should be marketing it. So we're gonna be getting, you're gonna be, when everything is ready during the summer, you're gonna be getting nice brochures. And you're gonna, but please share it with your friends who are, you know, who are in the broader community. Again, they don't even have to be Jewish, okay? And because, you know, everybody can study Torah, but especially people who are of the Jewish faith, you know, or are friends of the Jews or whatever, tell them something amazing is happening at Simon. We're trying to make this into an establishment where, ideally, we have such a program every day. I envision, you know, every day something happening here that is. And there's many, many ways to study, right? It can be with the body, with the mind, with arts, with, you know, classical ways of studying. So I'm really hoping that this Thursday, but already look, so, and then don't forget that they have, you know, Saturday morning Torah study, and then Sundays all of the bagel, and there will be a session after all of the bagel. We're trying to fill it up. So each so like once a month adult ed is going to offer something, once a month social action is going to offer something, once a month there's going to be open forum, people from the board will be sharing things with the congregation, so to eliminate the surprises. Oh, we didn't know that we're going to like convert to Catholicism. Oh, but we've been talking about this in the board for 5 years. So okay, so right, so basically open forum where people can like exchange ideas and thoughts with the board members, and once a month more or less, even though it's only going to happen like 3 or 4 times a year, because rarely there's four sessions a month. It's going to be Ask the Rabbi, where the rabbi is going to sit and you can ask the rabbi questions, and then the rabbi can say, I don't know. Wish I knew, right? So there's going to be lots of things to do. Oh, and then adult ed announces that if you have something that you want to teach, like a book that you've read and you think is interesting, or a play that you've been writing to the drawer, or poetry that you've been not sharing with the world, you can talk to Bob Israel, the chair of adult ed, and tell him, I want to teach in one of those Sundays once a month when it's adult ed. I want to offer an art workshop or not, whatever. Talk to Bob Israel. This is your opportunity to shine in the world. Okay, we still have a few of those sessions open. So, coming to think of it, except for you know, Tuesday, and well, Friday we have Shabbat services, so we got counts, right? So we actually have something going on every day here already, right? But hopefully there'll be more and more of that, and that's kind of the exciting news. And I'm really hoping that you all will be coming religiously to hold the bagel, to eat bagels and to study, will be ambassadors of this adult ed revolution at Temple Sinai, so that more and more people here will be able to enjoy hopefully the richness of the program that we want to offer. And it's exciting because more teachers will be involved, and you know, so there you go. All right, so that was the announcement that I was going to do towards the end. Before I go to our actual study session, are there any comments or questions about this confusing program that I've just shared with you? Or someone wants to say something in general about Bola Basil? Yeah.
I congratulate you on the breadth of what you're suggesting. I get emails from a friend who now lives in Sarasota, and he said, oh, you can't believe what's happening at the synagogue. Never happened here in Rochester. And then our daughter's synagogue in Nashville, very much the same kind of programs that you're suggesting, hugely popular and bringing people in all the time. And I think it's wonderful.
So let's move to national.
Well, no.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Right, there's also good music there, right? So,
Great ideas.
yeah.
Thank you.
So sure, you're welcome, and I really believe in that, right? The more we can offer, the more attractive is our synagogue. It's like, it should be a always a positive spiral of, you know, being able to do more, offer more, get more people, get more energy. You know, this is, and we can only do this together. So thank you for being part of it. All right. Okay. Yes. At least it's like saying, oh, right. This is very awesome. All right. So yes, Bruce.
Can you see if there are people in the waiting room in Zoom waiting?
Oh, there's, you are in the waiting room, Bruce.
I didn't know if anybody else was in the waiting room.
No, it's just you. And in fact, there are only 3 people on Zoom, and I hope by now they already got the text. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. The engagement committee. Right, so we're all set to go. We're all set to go with our study. So what I thought we'll do today is a little bit of an exercise in this kind of interactive study. And if somebody can be kind enough to share, I hope there's enough for everyone. If not, then you can, 2 people can have the same text. So there is this book called the Mishnah. And so the Mishnah is basically the core level, the basic level of the Talmud. The Mishnah is a codex of Jewish law that was compiled in the 1st and 2nd centuries, more or less, in Israel. It was edited by Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, Rabbi Yehuda, the president, in the town of Tziporin, in the Galilee, which is not far from where I used to live previously. And most of the Mishnah is very technical. It has to do with all sorts of rules and laws that have to do with every aspect and facet of life. And do you know the song Echad Mi Yodea? Any of you know the song Echad Mi Yodea from Pesach? It's Isha Sidrei Mishnah, right? The six volume of the Mishnah, because it's divided into six subjects, quarters. But there are 6 of them. So how do you say, like, what do you say? Orders, 6 orders of the Mishnah. Inside one of them is called Nezikin, damages, which is all the laws of what happens if someone has to pay damages to someone else. In other words, compensation. If my cow killed your cow by mistake, or if all those things, it's like basically lawyers. But at the end of that, there's one masechet, one tractate, which is called Pirkei Avot. And Pirkei Avot is actually not so technical, but more philosophical or spiritual. And it's actually a compilation of all the Tanaim, all the rabbis of antiquity, the sages of 2,000 years ago, and the wise things that they had to say. Each one of them had one or few, if you wish, Zen sentences, some life teachings from wisdom from their life that they said, and the way that it's presented, who haya omer, who, a little bit of Hebrew, who, not our who. What? But who, he, who, it's very confusing. In Hebrew, who is he? Who, he, haya, would, omer, say, he would say. Okay, that rabbi would say. In other words, that was his spiritual legacy, his spiritual teachings to the world. And there's a few chapters of that, and some of them are very famous, because many of the sayings we have in Hebrew usually come from Tractate Avot. And I brought to you today, I proudly present to you chapter 2 of Pirkei Avot. I could have brought chapter 1, chapter 3. I just looked at it and it looked interesting, so I brought you chapter 2. And what I thought we'll do is that we'll check kind of the exercise that is written at the top of the page. So the first stage is we're going to do it. Each of them is going to do it on your own. And then what you're going to do is you're going to team up in pairs. You can either team up with the person that you came with and you will know for many years, or if you want, you can pair up with someone that you don't know and make new friends, keep you old. Right? So here are the instructions. One is skim and scan the chapter, find a text or two that speaks to you. All right, so you know skimming and scanning, not scanning, scanning. You can also scan if you want the text, but scanning is better. Then what is in this text? Oh, it's bad English. What is it in this text that speaks to you? How is it relevant to your life today? Sorry for the grammatical errors. Is there something that you struggle with when reading this text? So sometimes we read ancient texts and they're annoying, or we find them controversial or irrelevant, or if we struggle, that's also okay. You don't have to say, oh, this is an amazing teaching, where do I sign up? You know, blah, blah, blah. You can say, no, I disagree, or this is a problem, or it's hard for me because, or, you know, or I wish it was like that, but it ain't, or whatever. And then, what would you like to add or change in this text? In other words, if you have the liberty to change the text a little bit, what would you do? If you think it's perfect and you won't want to change it, right? And then, if you were to write your own Zen wisdom statement, what would it be? Well, that's for advanced people, but or people who think that they're advanced, whatever. But right, so in the line of those teachers, we had a teaching. You see, they would walk through life, and this is what they chose. This is what they taught, or this is what the people have learned from them. Right, their life wisdom. That's the one sentence that they would go by. What would be yours? Okay, if you have them. So here's what you're gonna do. Now it's already 10:05. So why don't you take, 7 minutes to, I'll tell you, it's the 7 minutes, I'll fill the room. The 7 minutes might end up being 8.5, but take 7 minutes to do this on your own. Okay, just skim and scan and read and see what speaks to you, and choose a text or two, and kind of like read it, and go through the questions. And then after that, I'll say ding dong, and then you go to your chavruta, you pick up your study mate, and you share what you figured out. Okay, all right. So the 7 minutes begin now. The 7 minutes of self-reflection with texts. Good luck.
How much of the text do you want us to read with this first?
So I'm saying skim and scan, meaning that you can just glance through it all the way. You don't have to. If you don't, the first paragraph is not necessarily the most interesting one to you. So just look with your eyes and do a fast reading to see what, and then again, what catches your eye. Okay, and then choose the one. So each one of them can be independent. So all right. So see what's interesting to you. There's no test at the end, okay? There's no exam, so you can. And what seems interesting to you can also be part of a paragraph, one sentence. It doesn't have to be the entire thing. Just whatever it is that catches your attention. As you read it, I feel like I need to apologize that this is a very masculine-oriented text. It's how they used to.
We can handle it.
Yeah, well, some
Just change those pronouns.
can and some can't. So I just feel I need to apologize for the people who wrote this 2,000 years ago. That they were male, writing to male from a male perspective, and sometimes it's not.
I like the line, the more wives, the more witchcraft.
Yes. You can change it, the more husbands, the more something, the more dirty dishes in the sink.
Right.
Something like that. Okay, so 2 more minutes for the self-study. Arrange your time accordingly.
This is like my worst nightmare. You come to class and you're not prepared for the test.
Yeah, no, but there's no test. And I'm also giving you time to prepare. Okay, take the last 30 seconds or so to kind of like find your text that you want to share with your chavruta. We haven't yet.
3 lifetimes worth of material.
It is, I know, but this is also the joy of not having the teacher choose the text for you. So I chose a chapter, you can choose, you meet the raw text and you see what you are drawn to, right? That's part of the exercise. All right, so, right, Dr. Wojciechowski, it's like if you tell the patients, you decide which treatment you want. So you prescribe the medicine. Yeah, so, all right, so now you can find a chavruta. So turn to someone next to you, or let's say you've been married to someone for 40 years and you came with them to the room, you can choose them. Or if you're without a chavruta, find a chavruta. Is there anyone here who's without a chavruta? Raise your hand. I know it's a bit like, oh, I don't have a chavruta, but if you don't have a chavruta, how will you know? How will you find each other? And in the end, you can always join a chavruta and be 3 if you don't have an odd number. So anyone without a chavruta here? don't be shy. Don't be shy. You need to get Rita? Are you with them? Are you with her? Okay, good. All right, so what we're doing now is we're taking 12 minutes to talk about this. All right, so make sure both sides of the Chavruta get a chance to share their text.
So we did number one already, so we're talking about.
And you have your guiding questions. You can also ignore the question and talk about whatever the hell you want. But the guiding questions are going to help you to focus your discussion. If you need to.
I sort of finished. We are halfway through our study time with Chavruta, so 6 minutes. So make sure the other person also gets to share if you haven't done for theirs. Or if you're done talking, just choose another text to talk about. And if you're stuck and don't understand anything, that's good. Just struggle with it a little bit.
That's okay, you can take it home. So fine, so choose one that's interesting. This is Pirkei Avot, and the Mishnah. It's Pirkei Avot. There's the one tractate in the Mishnah that is philosophical and not like a dry law. It's like all the wisdom of the sage, which spiritual life is left behind.
It's very precise.
It is very
A lot of stuff like that.
So when this is never goes, it's Sikori, the Mishnah is everything. Sikori, next to our East Coast. You see the rooms of Sikori where the Mishnah is edited. You see it's a very Hellenistic town. Very Hellenistic. With mosaics, theater, ancient synagogue. It has Hades, the sun god, who is the builder.
What was the Mishnah?
Where or when? First, it was edited finally in year 165. 165. The idea is if you live between in the church across the street. It's fascinating. If you never visited there,
I've not been to that.
right?
Okay, 3 more minutes left. 3 more minutes left. Actually, we're going to shorten it. 2 more minutes left, because I want to have some time for discussion. Okay, okay. We're gonna now move to the, we're now going to move to the next stage of this study practice. And when I want to say that I was very pleased when I heard the hiss in the room, chitter chatter, chitter chatter. I know you're all talking about like the Bills game, the stock market, and your grandchildren, but I was pretending that we were all enthusiastically reading the text and being inspired by it. And to say that when I heard the hiss in the room, I said, this really reminds me of whenever you go into a classical yeshiva and you hear the yeshiva bacher is like, he's going, we're going to tell me. It's actually a very similar energy. And that is actually the classical way of study. In other words, a classical way of Jewish study in all the yeshivas, including in light of Israel. If you go in Monroe Avenue here, they actually are sponsoring 6, I think it's or 10 by now, yeshiva bachas. They live in 7. So they study Torah, and the way that they study Torah is not that their Rabbi Maimon teaches them frontally for a whole day. They sit over an open page of a big Talmud, all the commentaries around it,
and they kind of break their heads over the text, and then the teacher comes and if they have any questions, he asks it. So the classical way of Jewish study is what you guys have been doing in the past 12 minutes. Is an interactive kind of way that gives the chief responsibility for the textual study to the learner, not to the teacher. The teacher is there to maybe choose the text, provide initial introduction, answer questions in retrospect after this chevrut that the couple has exhausted their ability to figure it out on their own or to add something, but the main part of the study happens independently. And these chevrut would also become like lifelong partners and friends. So as maybe I know we're going to hear from you in a second, the text doesn't remain theoretical. It touches one's own life, right? So you kind of share your own inner world or whatever it is that you're dealing with your study companion. The text is there kind of like as a springboard for the conversation. And that's a very classical way of Jewish learning. A little bit of a tasting of what we're going to be doing on Thursdays. So this is the promo, marketing department. All right. So the third step is that after everybody goes and studies on their own in their chavrutas, 2 people, usually it's 2, it can also be 3 or 4, but usually it's 2 people. We gather up to something called the harvest. It's really called harvest, a seed. Why harvest? Because we want to harvest the different things that people have learned and shared together. So here's the mic. Hello. Anyone would like to share something like what I'm interested in, which text you chose, why you chose it, what you saw there, what did you find inspiring, what are you struggling with, etc. Wojciechowski's? The ones that have to pay for it all? Just joking.
Okay, we were looking at the second paragraph on the first page. He was talking about the idea of combining study with work as opposed to study on its own. It probably related, a lot of you probably related to this. Because we immediately thought of what's going on in Israel today, about all the Hasidim who are spending all their time in yeshivot and not contributing to society at all. Or we don't perceive that they contribute to society. I don't know.
And a worldly occupation. But
Yeah, that's worldly occupation.
Let's just speak to the mic so that.
So we felt like it really did speak to us because we can study, but then take what we learned to the outer world and perhaps do some good with what we've learned. But I'm not quite sure what those folks are doing, just to study alone.
Yeah, so right. So the application of what Rabbi Gamliel, that's how you pronounce his name, said is very intriguing when you think about the ultra-Orthodox society in Israel that kind of by the way, many of them do work, and many of them it's the wife who works, so that the husband can, and raises the children, so that the husband can study, and that is basically something that did not exist in Jewish civilization, except for very, very few. We're always, it makes sense that a certain elite, maybe a percentage of the population, gets a stipend if they recognize, they're like somebody who gets a stipend to go to do a PhD, something like that. But the whole society as a whole, right, doesn't work, but only studies is very different than what Rabbi Gamliel portrays here as an ideal Jewish life, which is combined Torah and study. But it's always easy to deflect to the ultra-Orthodox. And I wonder if anyone else chose the second paragraph in the second page?
That's exactly my association and question. I don't know if this is the case, that the ultra-Orthodox, and you say the wives do work. So I didn't know if I was jumping to judgment when I got immediately whether this is a lesson for the Haredi. So I had a question about that. And also how one strikes a balance in one's life. Certainly, many of us have been in occupations that have been all consuming. And how do you strike the balance?
Right, and thank you. I like the shift that you made, appreciate the shift that you made from something external to us, like the Old Orthodox, to our own experience. Because I think in the end, there's more to gain, or no less to gain, right? If we take these teachings to our own lives and see how that might touch some actual questions we have about our own lives. And in the end, in a way, the ultra-Orthodox, why does it annoy us? It annoys us because it pushes on a button, because usually it's relevant to ourselves. Why do they get to study? Right? And we have to make a living, right? It's kind of like that. And just to say in parentheses, what happened historically in Israel is that when the state of Israel was started, David Ben Gurion, I see people looking at their clock. Yes, it's 10:30, but we're gonna take 10 more minutes, okay, until 10:40. Usually we allow that to hold the bagel. Then at 10:45, already have another discussion somewhere else in the temple. David Ben Gurion said there should be 100 Haredi students who will study Torah to kind of like to allow for that culture to, I mean, it was supposed to be really, of the whole country, 100 ultra-Orthodox students who were like the best of the best of the best. And David Ben Gurion said, we'll let them study and be exempt from military service. And that 100 became 1,000 and 10,000 and 100,000, and the entire, not entire, but most of the ultra-Orthodox, it just became out of hand. And that the original intention was not for all of them to be exempt from military service, okay? But then it got out of hand because of the political power that they have, etc., and it's now slowly shifting because of the war, the general population said, excuse me, we're not willing for that anymore. So it's going to be changing now, I think. Finally. So, but about your other point, okay, Sandy, I think that's really the one that I would take it to. When in our life did we feel that we were not able to study or develop ourselves or fulfill our souls? And the study could be Torah, yoga, a hobby, even becoming better in our own job by learning because we had to make ends meet. Right? That's tension. It can be a tension with one's own life. Well, often it's a tension in our relationship. Who gets to go and develop themselves while the other one works? That often becomes a point of contention in marriages, or right, or even, it's those families when everybody worked to send Bobby to college so that he could become, a doctor and then pay for everybody else, and then, right, like kind of points of contention of who gets to study and develop themselves, and how do we balance it in our own lives? Any thoughts about that? Yeah.
Well, I just want to add, I struggled with the word occupation because I was thinking, we're looking at it from like a woman's lens, there's work that's done around children in the household that actually is an occupation, even if it's not paid. So, I mean, I think to what you're saying, there's things that we contribute to society at large and things we contribute to our family.
Right, and as I say, and the occupation, right? It's all about the occupation. So, that in Italy once there was I learned that when I was in rabbinic school, we had one semester of gender studies because we thought it would be helpful for rabbis to understand those things. It was one of the most fascinating semesters I had in rabbinic school. And one thing that I learned from the teacher there, from the professor who taught us, is that in Italy once they had a law that didn't pass, but the idea was that housewives should get a salary. Because, or husbands or wives, house husbands, whatever it is, but most of the time it's the women who would stay at home, at least back in the day in Italy. I don't know if that's changed. But the significant other, the spouse that stays at home and stays with the children and cooks and cleans and you say that is something that is worth something to society because it allows for the other one to go and work. there should be a salary, like minimum wage or average wage, whatever it is, so that that work is paid, right? It didn't pass. Italy wasn't that advanced. And I don't know that this is so in any country, but I thought it was a great idea. Right, because it kind of would put the quantity of like an economical value to that thing which is usually undermined. Any more thoughts about this? Or maybe in lack of time, maybe somebody read a completely different paragraph and wants to share with us what they've learned. Otherwise, we'll be talking about that the whole day. And we're almost done with our Ron, and then if we have time, giving David the microphone is dangerous, so I don't know. I don't know.
I didn't see anyone else raising their hand, so I just figured.
It just was right behind you. Go ahead, Ron.
On the second page, Phil said, do not separate yourself from the community. Do not trust in yourself until the day of your death. Do not judge your fellow man until you've reached his, to get in her place. Do not say something that cannot be understood. Trusting in the end, it will be understood. So as I read this, I was thinking about last night, I saw Marsha there. There was a concert to end hate. And they're saying the opposite of hate is love. But I thought, in order to move from hate to love, you need understanding. And one of the speakers talked about it's a black man, an artist who went to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is the seat of many far-right groups like the Oath Keepers, American Nazis.
I see a few.
And he taught some art and dance in his school. And he did a nice reception, but he said he was out on the street and a group of skinheads approached him and were kind of menacing, standing around him. And at first he was fearful, and then he thought, I'm afraid of them. And they're probably afraid of me because they've never seen and dealt with a black man before. And he started to think about things from their perspective, which is what Hillel said was understanding. And as he began to understand them, he could feel compassion for them. And as he felt compassion for them, he sensed that they had some compassion for him. When he said he was in New York City, one of them said, oh, I've never been there. I'd like to go there. Another one said, that must be really interesting. And they started talking and the barriers disappeared. And that kind of linked into what Hillel was saying. It's like, if we want to love each other and experience, we have to experience compassion. Compassion comes from understanding.
Thank you. And by the way, thank you for showing us the, referring to Hillel, because the one sentence at the end that you did not read, I think echoes with, what Sandy, what you were saying, say not when I shall have leisure, I shall study. No, when I shall have leisure, I shall study. Perhaps you will not have leisure. Right, which this is kind of like Hillel talking to Rabbi Gamliel.
Yeah.
Right, because part of the dilemma is, and it can even be like, should I go on my morning jog? No, I have to go to work. When will I, go to the gym? No, I have to do this and that. I have to pick up the kids from whatever. Right, that the dilemma, like when do I make myself the time to spiritually expand or take care of myself? Right? Hillel said, never say, no, I don't have time now, I'll do it later when I have the time, because you may not have the time, do it now. Right, that would be Hillel's suggestion to all of us who are like, how do we balance? Hillel would say, put your oxygen mask first, then help your kid, right? Make sure every day that you have the time to do that one thing that expands your soul and nourishes you, because if you say, I'll do it when I have the time, that time may never come, right? Okay, we have maybe time for one or two, David?
Well, I also felt.
I want to give you the mic.
Thank you. I also felt that the first paragraph doesn't say which rabbi.
No, it's actually because his name, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, the editor of the Mishnah, he was the president of all the rabbis, and he's called Rabbi. So that's him. Go ahead.
He wrote it though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, this one appealed to me. It's
it's between you and, in this case, God, right, as the overseeing arbiter of what's right and wrong. It doesn't reference the community. None of those things aren't important, but it's very focused on your own developing an ethical sense within yourself, ultimately derived from reason and rationality, right, by balancing these things. But in the context of God providing the authority of what's right and wrong, it helps you internalize that. It's sort of like training yourself over your lifetime to do what's right.
So, anyone else wants to share something that they've discussed? Yeah, go ahead. Just mindful of the time, we have like 2 more minutes before we wrap it up.
I picked the one on page 3 at the bottom. The 70 things. Rabbi Eliezer said, "Let the honor of your friend be as dear to you as your own." I liked the whole paragraph, but it just reminded me that here we are in this community, whether it's our congregation or our friendships or our family, and I know it's something I try to work on, and I hope we all do. I think we all do. That, you know, as much as we think things in our lives are going well, we always have to celebrate and honor and identify those things in our friends and families' lives and within our temple community of what they do. So I kind of like that.
Well, honoring people and being thankful for what they do, just before we wrap up, I think we all need to honor Stacy. Yes, that's you. Because for the whole year, while we were here studying and having fun, Stacy stand at the front desk and make sure that everyone is signed up and give everyone the guest pads and kind of like to make sure that no dangerous terrorists are entering the building and contacting them when they do. All right, so thank you for doing that. It's really recognize that. So thank you so much for being there, out there and protecting us and making sure that the registration goes as needed. Yeah, so this is just a little sample. Usually, you know, we have more time to develop the discussion, right? It's just a little sample of what happens when we engage in Jewish texts in this proactive kind of interactive way where we are the students, we get to skim, scan, choose, struggle with the text, find things that we like, things that we don't like. I didn't have time to ask any of you if there was things that you disliked in the text or struggled with, which is no less important, right? Because sometimes something that, a white, not a white, they weren't necessarily white, but a dead Jew wrote male Jew wrote 2,000 years ago can be really annoying to us. Or until we can question it, right? Sometimes we say, 2,000 years ago, that was great wisdom. We find it depressing, or we find it depressing, or we just don't understand it, or we like that part, but not the other part, or what about the women who stayed at home, or, different things that we can say, it's not, we're not just here to say, yes, masters of the past, every word we say is, amazing. Oftentimes it is, but there's a lot of good advice in this text, right? But he could also say, we are Reformed Jews. He can say this part of the text, maybe we write it differently nowadays, or maybe it doesn't work for me, maybe it works for someone else, or right? So it's all those things are possible in the way that we learn. So hopefully, as you consider enrolling for Thursday morning, Beit Midrash, you'll know that there'll be much more of that, because there'll be more time to study more texts with more teachers and kind of like develop as a learning community that hopefully every Orthodox Jew will come and say, oh, look, they're also studying like this. And maybe we'll get a stipend from the Israeli government. That'll be great. Right? You won't have to work anymore. All right, so great. Thank you so much for coming to Holo Bagel for the whole year and for this session as well. It only succeeds because all of you show up. If you don't show up, it doesn't happen. So have a great a great day. And I'm off to meet the bar bat mitzvah parents of the coming year who may have some question about what to do and how to deal with it. Take this home, read it, and if you want to read the entire Pirkei Avot, all you have to do is Google Pirkei Avot and find the other chapters online. Yeah, or you can bring it back to your family.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Sure.
I forgot that you come to this class. I lay down.
Yeah, well, that's the most important. Jewish guilt, Jewish guilt, and Jewish guilt. Well, but you should do it. Oh, but I can't. I have to do it. You should do it because you have to. Oh, that could have been your comment. Take care.
So you're gonna do that in your car? So, but outside, what did you make a piece of Bronco?
Yeah, no, but I can just work them out.
Yeah, do that. Give me a call before you
So anyway, kids all stay in the house. Right. I leave the stairs and the yard is I love it, all clay, right? And I'm putting my trowel in the ground, and the feet broke in my hand. I said, that's it.
I can't get anything.
Yeah, it was a constant fight.
Do we need to disconnect him?
They used to have a waterworks.
I think I showed you, is it like over 55?
Well, we have two young under 55.
Okay, I think I showed your parents.
Yes.
It's right off, 441.
Airport. Yeah,
Airport.
walk to.
Yeah, I should be.
Yeah, it's in the, so right to
Yeah.
your office.
So we were able to create a real.
What I'll do is I'll get those